It started with a receipt. Not just any receipt, one from a high-end jewelry store downtown, tucked neatly between a stack of old magazines in the cabinet beneath our sink. I wasn't snooping, not really. I had dropped the cap to my shaving cream and it rolled in there. But when I reached in and found that thin, elegant paper with a total of $8,900 written in gold ink, my hands began to shake. I remember staring at it for a full minute. My first thought. She's planning a surprise for me. Maybe an anniversary gift. Maybe something for the baby we'd talked about. But the date on the receipt was from 2 months ago. And my birthday had passed. Our anniversary too. Christmas was far off. And the item. A necklace. Platinum. With sapphires. Not exactly my style. I folded the receipt and slid it into my wallet, my heart thudding so loud I was sure she could hear it from the other room. I went out to the living room, pretending like nothing was wrong. She sat on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, phone in hand, laughing at something on Instagram. "Hey, babe," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "did you ever get around to organizing the cabinet under the sink?" She didn't look up. "No, not yet." "Why?" "No reason," I said, and walked into the kitchen to pour a glass of water I didn't need. That night I didn't sleep. I lay next to her, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft sound of her breathing. For 10 years I had trusted this woman with everything. We'd struggled together. Built a life from nothing. I worked 2 jobs for a while when we first moved in together. She stuck with me through it all. Or so I thought. The next morning, I left for work early. I couldn't face her. I told myself I was overreacting. It was probably a gift for her sister. Or her boss. Or, hell, I didn't know. But something in my gut felt off. Like a quiet voice whispering, "Don't let this go." So I didn't. Later that week, while she was out running errands, I checked the closet. It felt wrong, like a violation, but I couldn't stop myself. I searched through shoe boxes, sweater piles, coat pockets. And then I found it. In a gift bag tucked way in the back behind her winter boots. It was the necklace. And it was stunning. A thin platinum chain with a pendant shaped like a falling teardrop, deep blue sapphires glittering in the center. The kind of thing you see in movies. The kind of thing I could never afford. I sat down right there on the closet floor, necklace in hand, and just stared at it. She never wore jewelry like this. Not even on special occasions. I suddenly remembered all the times she'd said, "Let's not get gifts this year," or, "I don't need anything fancy." God, I used to admire her for that. Now I felt sick. When she got home, I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I wasn't ready. I put everything back the way I found it and tried to pretend I wasn't unraveling inside. But the pretending couldn't last. The next week, she came home late. Said she had drinks with a friend from yoga. She smelled like perfume. Not hers. Something heavier. Muskier. I didn't ask questions. I just nodded and went to bed early. 2 days later, I found another gift. A men's designer watch, brand new, still in its box. Tucked under the sink again, right where she'd hidden the receipt. This time, I didn't ask who it was for. I knew it wasn't for me. I started watching her more closely. Tracking her habits. Her phone, always face down. Her new lingerie I hadn't seen her wear. The random cash she never explained. I felt like a stranger living in my own home, sleeping next to a beautiful mystery I no longer recognized. One night, after she fell asleep, I took her phone. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped it. I knew the passcode. Of course I did. But the minute I unlocked it, I wished I hadn't. There were no flirty texts. No steamy photos. Nothing obvious. Just Venmo transactions. Regular ones. From different men. Always labeled with innocent emojis. A wine glass. A smiley face. A diamond. But the amounts, they weren't small. $1,000 here. $2,500 there. One was over $4,000. I felt like I was drowning. I sat on the bathroom floor until sunrise, my head in my hands, my heart shattering into pieces I didn't know how to gather. That morning, I didn't go to work. I waited until she got out of the shower, towel wrapped around her, humming like everything was normal. And I said it. I found the necklace. She froze. Her eyes met mine in the mirror. She didn't blink. What necklace? She asked, voice calm, steady. The one you bought 2 months ago, I said. Platinum. Sapphires. Her face didn't change. Not a flinch. I don't know what you're talking about. You hid it behind your boots, I whispered. I saw the receipt. I saw your phone. The money. The men. Silence. Then, slowly, she turned to face me. You went through my things. I had to, I said. You were lying to me. She stepped closer. Still calm. Almost too calm. You don't know what you saw. Then explain it, I said, tears burning behind my eyes. Please. Explain it to me. And then, finally, her expression cracked. She looked down. Bit her lip. I was just trying to help us, she said, barely audible. You work so hard. You never treat yourself. I thought if I could just bring something in. Bring what in? I said, my voice rising. Money. Gifts? From other men. She looked up. Her eyes were red now. It's not what you think. I laughed. A bitter, broken laugh. Then what is it? She was silent for a long time. Then she whispered something that made my stomach twist into a knot I'll never forget. I never slept with them. Not all of them. The room went cold. Not all of them. That was the moment the truth began to crack open like a rotting floor beneath my feet. And as I stood there, staring at the woman I thought I knew, I realized, this wasn't just betrayal. It was something worse. It was a life I didn't know I was living. Her words echoed in my mind like a siren underwater. Not all of them. What do you even do with that? What are you supposed to feel when the woman you built your life with stands in front of you, half wrapped in a towel, and admits to sleeping with some of them? I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. That would have made it easier, maybe. Given me something to do with the storm inside my chest. But I just stood there, jaw clenched, fists shaking, staring at her like she was some stranger who'd wandered into my house. Say it, I told her. Just, say what you did. She swallowed hard, but she didn't look away this time. It wasn't like I planned it. It just started with one guy. He was older. Nice. He saw me at the art gallery, thought I was one of the artists. I told him I wasn't, and he laughed. We talked. Just talked. My voice came out quieter than I expected. And then. Her eyes dropped. Then he asked if I wanted to meet for dinner sometime. I said no at first. But he kept texting me. Sending flowers. I told him I was married. He didn't care. Did you care? She blinked hard. A tear slipped out, but I didn't believe it yet. I was tired, okay, she said. Tired of us always scraping by. Tired of watching you kill yourself to bring home just enough. You used to dream, remember? You used to talk about opening your own studio, quitting your job, traveling with me. But we don't do any of that. We pay bills. We save coupons. We buy generic everything. I wanted more. So you sold yourself? I said. My voice cracked on the last word. It felt like cursing in church. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I didn't sleep with him that night, she said. Or the next time. He just gave me things. Took me to places I'd never been. He made me feel special. Like I was worth something more than laundry and leftovers. He gave me the necklace. I didn't ask. He just gave it to me. I stared at her in disbelief. And you took it? She nodded. I did. The silence between us thickened, heavy with everything I didn't want to ask. But the question pushed itself out of me. How many? She closed her eyes. How many? 3, she whispered. Maybe 4. Maybe. I don't remember if one of them counted. We didn't go all the way. I laughed again. Bitter. Shaking. Jesus. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't mean to hurt me. I repeated, stunned. You lied to me for months. You brought their gifts into our home. You came back to our bed, after them. And you didn't mean to hurt me. She opened her mouth, then closed it. There was nothing left for her to say that wouldn't make it worse. I walked out. No jacket. No wallet. Just keys. I drove without thinking, streets blurring by in early morning haze. I ended up at the old pier. The one where we had our first kiss. We used to come here when we couldn't afford real dates. Sit on the cold railing, legs swinging, sharing cheap coffee and big plans. And now I was here alone. Everything felt fake. Like my memories had been tampered with. I thought back on our marriage, every birthday, every fight, every laugh in the dark, and I couldn't tell which moments were still real. Which version of her had been with me through all of it? Had she ever really loved me? I stayed there for hours. At some point I called in sick to work. Said I had food poisoning. That wasn't a lie. My stomach hadn't stopped churning since I found that receipt. Around noon, she texted me. Please come home. We need to talk. I didn't answer. Half an hour later, another message. I didn't do it for love. I never loved any of them. I still love you. That was the one that broke me. Still love me. Still. Like I was some dog that waited at the door no matter what filth she tracked in. I went back in the evening. Not because I forgave her. But because I needed to look her in the eyes and understand how. How a person crosses that line and never tells you. She was in the kitchen, back to me, cutting vegetables like it was a normal night. Like she hadn't detonated our life 12 hours earlier. I leaned on the doorframe and said, "You were never going to tell me, were you?" She didn't turn around. No. Why? She set the knife down. Because I didn't want to lose you. You lost me the moment you said not all of them. Her shoulders rose. Fell. Slowly she turned, and this time, her face was raw. No makeup. No act. I messed up, she said. I know that. You want to leave me? Fine. I deserve that. But before you do, I need to tell you one more thing. I braced myself. I stopped. Months ago. After the last time. I blocked them all. I threw away their gifts, most of them. I was trying to come clean in my own way. Quietly. I thought maybe if I just made things right little by little, it could go away. But it didn't. It got heavier. Every day. I hated lying to you. And yet you did, I said, choking on my own voice. Every single day. I was ashamed. You should be. A long silence passed. Then, soft as a breath, she said, "You think I'm a monster?" I shook my head. No. I think you're worse. I think you're someone I loved completely, and that makes the betrayal worse than if it came from a stranger. Tears welled in her eyes. Do you think we can fix this? Fix it? That question hit like a hammer to the chest. I didn't even know what this was anymore. A marriage? A performance? A business deal where love was the currency and she spent it like pocket change? I don't know, I whispered. I really don't. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I needed to feel what space felt like again. What silence sounded like without her breath in my ear. I stared at the ceiling, memories flooding in like water through cracks in a dam. I couldn't stop seeing her smile at someone else. Laughing. Undressing. Trading intimacy for gifts with people who probably didn't even ask her name. I didn't know if I could live with that image in my head. But I also didn't know if I could live without her. That's when the second bomb dropped. The next morning, I woke to the sound of her crying in the bathroom. I hesitated before opening the door. She was on the floor, knees hugged to her chest, phone in hand. She looked up at me like she'd been caught stealing air. "I need to tell you something else," she said. My chest tightened. "What now?" She held out the phone. A message on the screen. From a man I didn't know. "I know you blocked me. But I'm not going away that easy. If your husband finds out everything, let's just say he'll know more than just about the gifts." She looked at me through swollen eyes. "He's threatening me. He's threatening us." I took her phone and read the message again. My heart dropped into my stomach. "I know you blocked me. But I'm not going away that easy. If your husband finds out everything, let's just say he'll know more than just about the gifts." I stared at the screen, blinking hard like the words would rearrange into something less terrifying. But they didn't. "What does that mean?" I asked. My voice was flat, hollow. Like all the emotion had burned away and only ash was left. She didn't answer right away. Her head fell into her hands. Her whole body trembled. "Who is he?" I asked again. She swallowed, then looked up slowly. "His name is Victor. He was the last one. The one I ended things with. The one who, he wanted more." My stomach twisted. "More?" She nodded. "He started asking about you. About our life. He said I should leave you. That I deserved better. That he could give me everything I ever wanted. And you said no." "Of course I said no," she said quickly, desperately. "I told him it was a mistake, that I loved you, and it could never happen again. And now he's threatening you." She nodded again. I felt like I was in a slow-moving nightmare, where nothing made sense and everything felt sticky and unreal. I didn't know whether to be furious at her or terrified for both of us. "Has he contacted you before this?" "A few times. At first I ignored it. Then I blocked him. That was a month ago." I handed the phone back to her and stood up. My head was pounding. "I need air," I muttered. She followed me into the hallway. "Please, don't shut me out. Not now. I'm scared, too." I turned to her, and for a moment I didn't see the woman who'd lied to me. I saw someone smaller, more fragile. Someone who was still, in some twisted way, the person I fell in love with. But the fear and betrayal clouded everything. "What does he know?" I asked. "What did you tell him about me?" "Nothing important," she said too fast. I narrowed my eyes. "Don't lie again." She hesitated, then said, "I told him you worked long hours. That you were tired. That you never noticed anything." I needed to explain why I still had time for him. The words hit like a slap. So I was the fool. The blind husband who didn't see what was happening under his own roof. "No," she whispered. "You were just trying to survive. And I let you down." There was a long pause before I asked, "Do you think he'll actually tell anyone?" She looked down. "I don't know. But I believe him when he says he won't disappear." And then it hit me, this wasn't over. This wasn't some ugly memory we could bury and move on from. There was someone out there holding a knife to the throat of our already dying marriage. We were no longer just dealing with betrayal. We were dealing with blackmail. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to steady my breathing. My wife, was being stalked by one of her rich lovers, and I was now a character in his sick little game. I could feel the foundation of my world tilting beneath me. "I need to meet him," I said suddenly. Her eyes shot up. "What?" "I need to look this guy in the eyes and tell him to back off. I'm not going to wait around for him to blow up our lives." "No," she said, stepping closer. "He's dangerous. You don't know what he's capable of." "I'm not afraid of him," I said. "But I am tired of being afraid of the truth." She sat down next to me. Her voice softened. "If you talk to him, he'll know I told you everything." I stared at her. Shouldn't he know that? She didn't respond. We didn't sleep that night. We lay in silence, both of us haunted by a different version of guilt. Mine was tangled with betrayal, hers with shame and fear. Every sound outside made her flinch. Every quiet minute made my mind race. By morning, I had a plan. I found Victor's profile in her blocked contacts and messaged him from my own phone. I kept it short. Meet me tomorrow. 6 p.m. The coffee shop on 3rd and Magnolia. He didn't reply for hours. But when he finally did, it was one word. Fine. My wife begged me not to go. Said we should just go to the police. But what would we tell them? That she slept with a man who gave her jewelry and now he was sending passive-aggressive threats. The shame alone would destroy her. No, I needed to handle this myself. When I arrived at the coffee shop the next day, he was already there. Sitting in the back corner, wearing a tailored blazer and sipping espresso like he owned the place. His hair was perfect. His watch probably cost more than my car. I sat across from him. He smiled like we were old friends. You must be the husband. And you're Victor, I said, no emotion in my voice. He raised his cup in a mock toast. She has good taste. I clenched my jaw. Let's skip the part where you pretend to be charming. What do you want? He studied me for a moment, then leaned back. I want her, he said. I blinked. You what? I want her, he repeated. I've seen the way she lights up when she's with me. I know what she's capable of when she's not weighed down by your mediocrity. My hands curled into fists. You're delusional. He smiled again. Maybe. But I've got nothing to lose. You do. What's your goal here? I asked. To scare her into coming back to you. He leaned forward. My goal. My goal is to take what I want. And if she won't give it to me willingly, then maybe I make sure the rest of the world knows what she is. Is that a threat? He didn't blink. It's a guarantee. I stood up. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might rip out of my chest. You stay away from her, I said. If you come near my wife again, I'll go to the police. I don't care what it costs us. He smiled. Maybe you should be more worried about what it'll cost you. I left before I did something I'd regret. That night, I told her everything. I told her what he said. What he wanted. She didn't cry this time. She just nodded. Resigned. Maybe this is what I deserve, she whispered. No one deserves this, I said, though I wasn't sure if I believed it. And then she said something I didn't expect. I'll go to him. I stared at her in shock. What? I'll meet him. One last time. I'll tell him it's over. That I'm choosing you. I shook my head. No. That's what he wants. That gives him power. It gives me closure, she said. We stared at each other for a long time. And in that silence, I knew, our story wasn't just about betrayal. It was about the consequences that never let go. And what it costs to finally tell the truth, to someone else, and to yourself. I didn't want her to go. I told her a dozen times that day, pacing the living room while she stood quietly by the window, arms crossed, staring at nothing. But she didn't argue. She didn't fight back or yell. That scared me more than anything, the way she seemed ready to offer herself up, as if this was the only way to pay for what she'd done. He won't listen to me, I said, trying again. You think one dramatic goodbye is going to scare him off? He's obsessed. He thinks he owns you. She finally turned to face me. Her voice was calm, but there was steel in it. Then I need to take back what I gave him. He won't stop until he sees me again. He needs to know I'm not afraid anymore. I hated how logical it sounded coming from her lips. I hated even more that I couldn't come up with a better plan. What if he hurts you? She didn't flinch. Then we'll go to the police. But not before I show him that I'm not his anymore. Her choice of words, not his, stabbed at something deep inside me. There was a time when I believed no one could take her from me, not physically, not emotionally. But now I knew better. Now I knew love wasn't a chain. It was a door. And someone had opened that door when I wasn't looking. She met him at a hotel bar uptown. I waited 2 blocks away in the car, my hands sweating against the steering wheel. Every part of me wanted to storm in there, drag her out, and scream at this man who thought he could blackmail his way into someone's life. But this wasn't my fight anymore. She needed to be the one to end it. It was raining, of course it was. The kind of soft, steady rain that soaks everything slowly. I kept the windows cracked, listening to the patter of drops, watching the entrance like a hawk. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. I kept replaying everything in my head, her confession, the receipt, the hidden gifts, the message on the phone. It all blurred together now, like a movie I didn't remember auditioning for. But this scene, this was real. Too real. Finally, after nearly 40 minutes, she walked out. Alone. She didn't look back as she came toward the car. Her expression was unreadable. Not angry. Not relieved. Just hollow. When she opened the door and got in, I didn't speak. I just started driving. After a few blocks, I couldn't take the silence. Well. She stared straight ahead. He cried. I looked over at her. What? She nodded slowly. He cried. Said he was in love with me. Said I ruined him. Good, I muttered, though it didn't feel good. I told him I didn't love him. That I never did. I told him I chose you. That I would never see him again. I waited, watching the road, gripping the wheel. Did he believe you? I think so. He begged. But I didn't budge. I swallowed hard. Do you think it's over? She hesitated. I don't know. I think it's the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end. Those words haunted me for days. The next week passed in an almost surreal blur. We tried to settle back into some version of normal. She cooked dinner. I went to work. We pretended to be a couple again, at least in front of other people. But in private, something hung in the air. A silence too loud. A distance too close. One night, I caught her looking at me from across the kitchen, like she was waiting for something. What? I asked. She bit her lip. You haven't touched me. Not since, you know. I looked down. I know. Do you still want me? The question hit like a brick to the chest. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know, but because I did. I don't know what I want, I said honestly. Some days I hate you. Some days I miss you so much it hurts to breathe. And sometimes I don't feel anything at all. Just numb. Tears filled her eyes. I understand. I don't want to punish you, I added. But I can't pretend nothing happened. I'm not asking you to pretend, she whispered. I'm just asking if there's still a version of us worth fighting for. I looked at her for a long time. This woman I had loved more than anything in the world. This woman who had betrayed me, and yet stood here, trembling and honest, waiting for something that felt like forgiveness. I don't know yet, I said. That night, she slept in our bed. I slept on the couch. Again. But something changed. For the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just stared at the ceiling and thought, if she's trying to fix it, maybe I should too. But life wasn't done throwing punches. 3 days later, I came home to find her sitting on the floor, phone in hand, shaking. He's back, she said. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? He sent a video. I snatched the phone from her hand and opened the message. My breath caught in my throat. It was a video of her and Victor. In a hotel room. Kissing. Laughing. Undressing. Not explicit, but intimate. Enough to destroy her reputation. Enough to ruin us permanently if it ever went public. The message below it was short. Still think you're done with me? I stared at the screen, then at her. I didn't know he filmed it, she said quickly. I swear to God. I never would've. I believe you, I said, surprising even myself. She broke down sobbing. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was revenge. He wasn't trying to win her back. He was trying to punish her for choosing me. And now we were caught in the crossfire. We had no choice. We went to the police. They were sympathetic. Sort of. They took the phone. Asked questions. Promised to look into it. But without a direct threat of blackmail, without money changing hands or a specific demand, it was just a disturbing personal dispute. We left the station feeling smaller than when we entered. That night, I sat beside her on the couch. For the first time in weeks. We can't let him win, I said. He wants to make us afraid. To break us. She nodded, eyes still puffy from crying. What do? We don't run, I said. We fight. Together. She looked at me like she didn't believe I meant it. But I did. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, I realized something: she wasn't the only one who needed to heal. I did too. And maybe, just maybe, if we faced this storm side by side, we could find a way back to each other. Or lose everything trying. When you say, we'll fight together, it sounds noble. But the truth is, fighting together with someone you barely trust anymore is a different kind of war. You're not just battling the outside threat, you're battling every unanswered question, every scar, every lie you pretended not to see. That's where we were now. My wife and I weren't just trying to get rid of Victor, we were trying to become people again. Real people, with something left to save. But the line between damage and destruction, it's razor thin. We started with small things. She moved back into the bedroom. I didn't object. But I didn't touch her either. We talked, sometimes. Made dinner together. Watched a few episodes of some dumb reality show just to feel the silence break. There were moments, brief, flickering moments, when I remembered who we used to be. But then I'd catch a look in her eyes. Guilt. Shame. And I'd remember everything. The video. The messages. The betrayal. Victor wasn't saying anything new, but he was always present. A comment on a post. A blocked call that still showed up in the logs. A flower on the windshield of her car, blue orchid, just like the ones he used to give her. He was circling. Waiting. Reminding us that he still had power. We considered changing her number. Moving. But that felt like surrender. We didn't want to run. We wanted to survive this and win. But what did winning even look like? One afternoon, I came home early from work. I'd had enough of staring at spreadsheets and pretending I wasn't falling apart inside. When I walked in, I heard her on the phone. Her voice was low, urgent. No, I told you, this has to stop. Please. Just delete it. I'm asking you not for me, for him. I froze in the hallway. No, she said again. This isn't love. It's cruelty. If you ever felt anything real, you'll let me go. Silence. Then, goodbye, Victor. When I stepped into the room, she spun around, startled. I didn't say anything. Just walked over, took the phone gently from her hand, and placed it on the table. That was him. She nodded. What did he say? She swallowed. That he misses me. That he has more videos. That, if I don't come see him again, he'll make sure everyone I know sees what we did. I ran a hand through my hair. This isn't obsession anymore. This is extortion. I know. We stared at each other. And then, quietly, she said, "Do you still love me?" It felt like a punch. The way she asked it, not pleading, not manipulating, just scared. Like a child waiting to be told she wasn't a monster. I didn't know what to say. So I didn't lie. I want to. Her eyes shimmered. Then let me fix this. Let me end it. You already tried. I didn't go far enough. I shook my head. No. This ends with both of us. If you go alone again, he'll never stop. But if I'm there, if he sees that you're not ashamed, that we're not broken, he loses. You want to confront him. I want to take away his power. It took 2 more days to find a way to contact him without putting her in direct danger. I used a burner email, anonymous and cold. We want to talk. Face to face. One last time. No games. You pick the place, but it better be public. He replied the same night. Fine. Thursday. 8 p.m. That rooftop lounge on 6th. Just the two of you. I didn't tell him we'd already contacted a lawyer. Or that a friend of mine, an ex-cop, was going to sit nearby, watching everything. I wasn't just walking into this unarmed. Thursday came fast. Too fast. The rooftop was sleek, dimly lit, with glass rails and overpriced cocktails. The kind of place where no one asks questions and everyone wears fake smiles. Victor arrived 10 minutes late. Of course he did. He looked sharp, charming, like a man who never imagined he'd lose. His eyes flicked between us with smug amusement. Well, isn't this cozy, he said, sliding into the booth. The wounded husband and the repentant wife. I didn't flinch. We're not here to play games, Victor. I disagree. Everything in life is a game. And right now, I'm winning. My wife spoke before I could. You're not winning. You're pathetic. You're grasping at something that was never real. He smiled tightly. That's not what you said when. Don't, I interrupted, my voice hard. We're done being scared of you. You want to release those videos? Do it. But know this, we've already gone to the police. We've documented everything. Messages. Gifts. Videos. They know your name. His expression twitched. You think they'll care, he said, but the confidence was cracking. You think the world won't look at her and call her names? I don't care what they call her, I said. I care about what we rebuild. And if we rebuild it in fire, so be it. But you won't hold the match. Silence. Then she spoke, calmly. This is your last chance to walk away. Delete everything. Leave us alone. You have no power here anymore. Victor leaned back, his smile finally slipping into something uglier. Desperation. You'll regret this. No, I said. You will. We stood and left him there, drowning in his own bitterness. Outside, I exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks. In the car, she turned to me, voice shaking. You don't hate me. I looked at her for a long moment. I did, I admitted. But hate burns fast. What's left after, that's harder. It's still love. But it's not blind anymore. She reached for my hand. I'm sorry. I know. We didn't speak the rest of the way home. We didn't need to. Something had shifted. Something real. We weren't healed. Not even close. But we'd stopped bleeding. And for the first time since I found that damn receipt, I let myself hope. Healing isn't loud. It doesn't come in grand apologies or sweeping romantic gestures. It doesn't arrive with a suitcase packed full of forgiveness. No one wakes up one day and just forgets the betrayal. Healing is silent. It's a decision you make every morning to try again. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. The morning after we confronted Victor, I woke up before she did. I lay there for a while, watching her sleep, wondering when she stopped looking familiar to me. There was a time when I could read every thought behind her eyes. Now, I wasn't even sure who she was anymore. But I wasn't sure who I was either. I got up and made coffee. 2 cups. Cream and a little sugar in hers, the way she liked it. I don't know why I did it. Maybe muscle memory. Maybe something deeper. When she came into the kitchen, her hair a mess and her eyes swollen from too little sleep, she stopped in her tracks. Her eyes went to the cup. You made me coffee, she said softly. I nodded. Yeah. She sat down without another word. We drank in silence. It wasn't peaceful, not exactly, but it wasn't hostile either. We were in limbo. That's how the next few weeks went. We were cautious with each other, like two people learning how to walk again after a bad fall. We talked, but never too deep. Laughed, but never too loud. Touched, but always accidentally. We weren't a couple. We were survivors. One night, about 3 weeks after the rooftop confrontation, she came into the living room holding an envelope. Her hands were shaking. I wrote you something, she said. I looked at her, confused. You wrote me something. She nodded and held it out. You don't have to read it now. I needed to say everything. And I didn't know how else. I took the envelope. It was thick. I waited until she went to bed, then opened it. It was 10 pages, front and back. A letter. A confession. A memory book. A map of where we broke and how she tried to fix it. She talked about the loneliness she felt, the guilt that followed her everywhere, the moments she wanted to tell me but didn't know how. She admitted she hated herself. That she looked in the mirror and saw a stranger. That she missed me. The real me. The men who used to hold her like she was the only soft thing in a hard world. She wrote that I didn't deserve what she did. But that I deserved to know every reason why it happened. By the end of the letter, I was crying. Not just from the pain, but from the weight of everything we never said out loud. The next day, I thanked her. I didn't say much else. I couldn't. But I held her hand across the table, and for the first time in months, she didn't pull away. That night, we lay in bed together. Facing each other. Not speaking. Just breathing the same air again. I miss us, she whispered. I do too, I said. Do you think we could ever go back? No, I said honestly. But maybe we can go forward. She smiled, and it was small and fragile, but it was real. The next day, we did something we hadn't done in over a year. We went out. Just the two of us. No errands, no forced conversations. We went to the old cafe where we used to argue over crossword puzzles and share lemon tarts. The waitress recognized us. She smiled like it was good to see something old come back to life. We laughed that day. Not the kind of laughter that fixes anything. But the kind that reminds you that fixing is possible. But not everything was easy. One night, we ran into someone from her past. Not one of them, but a friend. A woman I'd never liked, even before all this. The way she looked at me when we walked in together, it was sharp. Judging. Like I was weak for staying. Like she knew something I didn't. Later that night, I asked her, did you tell her everything? She looked at me, then down at her glass. Yes. And what did she say? She said I was lucky you didn't leave. I nodded. She's not wrong. She also said, I don't deserve you. I didn't respond to that. Because I didn't know if I agreed. Deserve is a strange word. Heavy. Absolute. I don't know if anyone really deserves forgiveness. Or love. Or pain. Sometimes, you just get what you get. And you decide whether to keep it or throw it away. A week after that, we tried to be intimate. Tried. But halfway through, something in me froze. A memory. A flash of her with someone else. Her laughter. Her hands on someone else's skin. I rolled away, ashamed and angry. I'm sorry, she whispered. It's not you, I said. It's the ghosts. She started crying quietly. We lay there, side by side, a few inches of mattress between us, both haunted. We didn't try again for a long time. But the next morning, she made me coffee. Extra strong. Just the way I like it. We were trying. That's what mattered. And just when I thought things were settling, Victor called again. Blocked number. I answered without thinking. You think this is over, he said. You think I'm gone? I didn't say anything. I've got more than video, he said. I've got messages. Photos. Conversations. You think she told you everything? I hung up. He texted a minute later. I always leave a backup. I didn't show her. I didn't want to reopen that wound. Not yet. Instead, I contacted the lawyer. Told him everything. Asked him how far this could go. What our options were. He said, if he publishes anything without consent, we can take him down. But if he just threatens, we're stuck in a gray area. Unless you want to go public and make it messy. I didn't want messy. I just wanted peace. But peace doesn't come when people like Victor still exist. People who feed off weakness. Off doubt. That night, I looked at her across the dinner table and asked, "Is there anything else?" She looked at me like I'd punched her. "I need to know," I said. "Not because I don't trust you, but because I want to. And if there's even one more thing hiding in the dark, it'll rot everything." She took a deep breath. "There was one more gift." I nodded. "What was it?" "A bracelet. I never wore it. Never even unwrapped it. It's in the garage, in a shoebox. From him." "Yes. Why didn't you throw it away?" "I didn't know how." That night, we went into the garage together. She pulled the box from the back shelf. Opened it. Inside was the bracelet, gold, delicate, expensive. Without a word, she handed it to me. I walked to the fire pit in our backyard. Lit a match. Watched it burn. It didn't erase what happened. But it made space for something else to grow. They say some cracks can never be filled, only learned to live with. I used to think healing meant going back to the way things were, back to who we used to be. But now I know that's a fantasy. Healing isn't about going backward. It's about standing in the ruins of what used to be, clearing the ash with your hands, and deciding what you're still willing to build from. It had been 4 months since we burned the bracelet. Victor never contacted us again. Maybe he got tired. Maybe the threat of legal consequences finally sank in. Or maybe, just maybe, he realized that the version of her he was obsessed with never really existed. That was the hardest part to admit, even for her. "I think I liked how he looked at me," she told me once, while folding laundry. "Like I was someone valuable. Someone rare." "You are," I said, without looking up. "But you don't need to sleep with a man to prove it." She didn't respond, but I saw the way her hands paused, trembling slightly. Her shame still lived inside her. Some days louder than others. And me? I was still walking through the fog. Not lost, but not quite found. We were better. Not fixed. Not whole. But better. Some nights we cooked together. Shared stories from work. Even laughed again. She started painting again. Her canvases were darker now, shadows and faces and stormy skies, but beautiful. Honest. I found myself staring at her when she wasn't looking. Not with suspicion. Not with pain. With curiosity. Like I was meeting her for the first time again. And maybe, in a way, I was. One Saturday morning, while we were cleaning out the attic, she handed me a small box I hadn't seen before. "What's this?" I asked. "It's yours," she said. "You gave it to me years ago. I kept it, even when I thought I didn't deserve it." I opened it slowly. Inside was the watch I gave her on our 5th anniversary. Engraved on the back were the words, "Still counting seconds with you." I remembered saving for months to buy that watch. Remembered the way her face lit up when she saw it. That moment felt like another life now. "You kept it," I said quietly. "I couldn't let go of everything," she whispered. I held the box for a long time, then closed it and nodded. "Neither can I." That night, we went for a walk around the neighborhood. Something we hadn't done in over a year. The streets looked the same, but everything felt different. Slower. Quieter. "I'm not who I used to be," she said suddenly, staring down at the pavement. "Neither am I," I replied. "I hate what I did. I hate who I was." "I hated her too," I said, honestly. "But I don't hate you." She stopped walking. "Why not?" Her voice was raw. "Why didn't you leave me? Why did you stay when I broke everything?" I looked at her, really looked. "Because I saw you trying. Not just to get me back, but to get yourself back." She blinked hard. "And if I had given up? I would have left." Silence stretched between us. Then, finally, she nodded. "I deserved that." "Yeah," I said. "But you earned something else." We kept walking. That night, we finally made love again. Slowly. Gently. Not like we were trying to erase the past, but like we were trying to accept it. Our hands were hesitant, our lips familiar but unsure. And when it was over, we didn't cry. We just lay there, fingers intertwined, breathing the same quiet air. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I didn't see her with someone else in my mind. I just saw her. The way she smiled when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she whispered my name like it still mattered. The next morning, we sat in the kitchen with coffee, just like before. "I love you," she said. I waited. Then I said, "I love you, too." And I meant it. But it wasn't the same kind of love we had before. Back then, our love was easy. Innocent. Untested. Now, our love was tired. Bruised. A little broken. But stronger. More real. We went to couples therapy. Not because we were falling apart, but because we didn't want to again. We had hard conversations. Long ones. Some that ended in silence. Others in tears. But every time, we chose to stay at the table. That became our promise. Not forever. Just tomorrow. And then the day after that. And the next. One evening, we were watching TV and she leaned her head on my shoulder. "I never told you something," she said softly. I tensed, just slightly. "What is it?" "The day you found that receipt," she said, "I was about to tell you everything." I didn't say anything. Just let her continue. "I had it all written down. I was going to leave it on your pillow while you were at work. But you found the receipt first. And I panicked." I nodded slowly. "What stopped you from telling me sooner?" "I was afraid you'd leave before I had a chance to explain. And I couldn't face that." I turned to her. "And now?" She looked up at me. "Now I know, if you ever leave, it'll be because we've both run out of reasons to stay. Not because of a lie. Not because of fear." I kissed her forehead. We didn't talk about Victor anymore. We didn't need to. He was a shadow, long gone. He took something from us, yes. But he didn't take everything. What was left, what we saved, was ours. Not perfect. But real. And sometimes, that's the best kind of ending there is.